Greg Gard gets a contract to stay in Madison, 2 NFL legends retire, and we preview the NCAA conference tournaments. Sports Talk Live is next. Welcome into another edition of Sports Talk Live, where we talk about the most important sports topics of the week. I'm joined by some of the smartest sports talkers this campus has to offer. The V-Man, Brandon Vonderow, Joey Olson, the Cooley Region Casanova, and the Murphy Shannon. Welcome in, gentlemen. Why don't we just kick things right off, and we start with the big news out of Madison. Greg Gard, new 5-year deal to stay in Madison. Gentlemen, why don't we go ahead and talk about what that means and how that impacts the Wisconsin Badgers?
Well, the first to start off, it's a win for not only any small-town kid in the Midwest. It's a win for the University of Wisconsin. You just stayed right there. Bailey Alvarez had to look no further. No due diligence there. Greg Gard gets a 5-year contract to stay with the Wisconsin Badgers, and just remarkable. I know we got a Marquette fan over here and a Minnesota fan here, so I'll take it. He gets about a $2 million a year through 5, and just a great hire. It's one of the more remarkable stories in college basketball. And Gard just, as soon as Bo left, said, "I'm going to do it my way with the swing offense." And just an amazing story. And he has his team playing well going into the conference tournament. So you guys have any thoughts on the Big Ten tournament?
Absolutely. The first 6 seeds, I don't see much difference between any of them. Wisconsin's been on a roll. Michigan State, I think, is definitely the favorite. But you can't count out Purdue, and you can't count out Maryland, even though they've been streaky. But I do want to talk about Iowa. The Iowa Hawkeyes have the exact same chance of winning the tournament than they do bouncing out the first round, because that's how they played of late. They were up to, 3 earlier in the year in the rankings, and just went kaput towards the end of the year. So it'll be interesting how they play. They've been known for a terrible tournament schedule. I believe a couple of years ago when they were 3, they got bounced in the first round as well. So I'll be watching the Hawkeyes to see which Hawkeyes are going to show up.
Like you said, Maryland, they've been streaky all year, but with the big men in the middle, Stone and DeMonte Dodd, Robert Carter Jr., I think he's one of the most underrated players in the nation, if not just the Big Ten. But Maryland, Melo Trimble as well, he's one of the best players in the nation. I see Maryland as a good shot at winning the Big Ten.
Now, when we normally talk about the Big Ten, you know, we've talked about Gard getting an extension, and the Big Ten has some premier coaches. When you go into a Big Ten tournament, a lot of it really comes down to coaching. What coach do you think has, some of the biggest influence on what could potentially happen, with this Big Ten tournament?
Well, Tom Izzo never believed much in these conference tournaments. It's about what you do in the NCAA tournament, and every senior that has walked through the halls in East Lansing has gone to a Final Four. So definitely him, but he doesn't care about conference tournaments too much. So really, with what Murphy said over here, I'll say Wisconsin and Maryland does have a rubber match set for Friday night, as long as the Badgers get past Nebraska and Rutgers. Should go a long way, and if they go, they probably will play Michigan State in a semifinal on Saturday, the way the bracket is set up. So as far as conference tournament goes, of course, Tom Crean won Big Ten Coach of the Year. He'll have his team playing well. They're the number 1 seed. Really, the top 1 through 7 coaches in the entire tournament are just as worthy as everybody else. But of course, it's the month of March, so you got to think of Tom Izzo. But of course, like I said before, he doesn't have his team thinking about the conference tournament too much.
I want to go back to Fran McCaffrey of Iowa.
Yep.
Because the team that he put together, they're now seniors. Most of the seniors are going to go off. They have 1 junior in the lineup, so if he can fire up the team to get on and run and put everything behind him, I'll be interested to see what he does.
This is the chance for Iowa to prove it. I mean, they've always kind of been second fiddle a lot of times, and you mentioned it. Whenever they do kind of, make a push, they seem to fall flat. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out with the Big Ten tournament. Moving on, earlier this week, we had a couple of interesting retirements going on. I think we've kind of all expected the Peyton Manning retirement, but there was also one that was kind of rumored for a while, finally came through. Megatron Calvin Johnson also retired. Fellas, I guess let's just use this time to kind of reflect on the careers of these two. I would consider them legends. They're great players in their own right. I mean, just talk about it. Murphy, why don't you go ahead and talk about Peyton Manning, talk about Calvin Johnson, what they meant to the NFL.
Well, I'll talk about Calvin Johnson, and the thing is, I don't think he's done. Okay, Pac-Man Jones came out today. He said he's going to be in the NFL next year. Calvin Johnson will be. I think being stuck with the Lions was kind of the worst thing to happen to his career. He's a great player, but I could see him coming back ready for next year with a different team. I think is what's going to happen.
Aside from the Browns, I can't think of a worse destination to go to in the NFL. But I'll take my time and talk about Peyton Manning, specifically in 2006 when the Patriots were beating the Colts 21-3 in the fourth quarter to get to the Super Bowl, or I believe it was to the AFC Championship because the Colts beat the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl. How he came back with the talks of Brady versus Manning you hear today. Yeah, he's 6-11, but he's 5-2 against Brady in the playoffs. That's something to be proud of. The pinnacle of childhood football, growing up watching him and other legends like Charles Woodson, who's also retiring, is going to be sorely missed. And I don't know if there'll ever be a player like him again.
And the thing about yesterday, Peyton Manning retired the Peyton Manning way. You know, was emotional, said, I love football and I love all of you. Rode off into the sunset, of course, winning a Super Bowl, maybe a little bit different than another legend, Marshawn Lynch, riding off with camels across the world to celebrate his retirement. So we'll miss all those stars, and of course, it's time for others to emerge. So congratulations to every NFL player in their retirement, especially Peyton Manning and Calvin Johnson.
Now, when you talk about Peyton Manning, and you kind of alluded to it, it always kind of comes down to that Brady or Manning type argument. I guess for the time that we have remaining on this segment, were you a Brady or were you a Manning guy?
I just want to say one thing real quick.
It's all about the ring.
Rodney Harrison, Teddy Bruschi, Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour, Darrelle Revis.
Their defense was stacked.
Other than Dwight Freeney and Bob Sanders, who have the Colts ever had on defense?
Corey Redding. I mean, he was good. They had Mathis and Freeney.
Yeah, that was it.
But I don't know.
The Patriots had some of the best teams I've ever seen.
True.
I think Tom Brady, both the guys obviously turned no-name receivers into big names, but I think Tom Brady, just his presence in the pocket as a passer, obviously he doesn't have the pre-snap stuff that Peyton Manning has, but I got to go with Tom Brady.
One word, Brady or Manning?
Brady, it's all about the rings.
All right. Next, we have had an interesting start to the free agency period of the NFL, the new league year. We had a big trade from the Eagles. They're looking like they're blowing things up, boys. DeMarco Murray was traded to the Titans. There's also a litany of other trades the Eagles seem to have on the horizon. Talk about what this means for the Eagles when, you know, they brought in Chip Kelly. They were a big player in the NFC East. This is essentially the downfall of that team. Just talk about it. What do you think?
Well, the Eagles are restarting, definitely. It is a restart. Chip Kelly kind of left some garbage, or left a, what do they call it, a dumpster fire in Philadelphia when they retired. And it's Doug Peterson's time to get his new team and get it together. Of course, Maxwell and Alonso also gone in the Philadelphia defense. So it's all about Doug Peterson getting the players that he wants. And then, of course, with DeMarco Murray going over the Titans, they think that Murray might have a couple years left in the NFL to help Marcus Mariota transition in the NFL, and that could be a dangerous 1-2 punch someday, maybe in a year or two.
Murphy?
DeMarco Murray coming off that amazing 2014 season, NFL rushing champ, just 702 yards, 3.6 yards a carry. Those are backup numbers. Obviously, the Eagles for him was going to be a good destination with Chip Kelly, but it didn't work out. Good to see him bounce back. Titans coming in with a new coach. Ken Wisenhut's gone. New coach coming in. Who knows?
I like the odds of Murray running behind Chance Warmack, but the Titans are going to have to prove a lot. I still think he's a bum for leaving Dallas. No matter how much money you're chasing, running behind that O-line couldn't have been more than luxurious.
And I guess for me, the question that I have is, do you think this kind of opens up the floodgates for any other trades? Yes or no? One word, yes or no?
Oh, definitely.
I don't think we'll see much this year.
I think it'll be a big offseason.
The NFL, of course, is always...
It's hit or miss,
yeah,
though.
Sure.
It's hit or miss. All right, we had big news out of Illinois. The University of Illinois has hired Lovie Smith as their new head coach for football. I don't know, for me, this isn't that much of a needle mover, but do you think Lovie Smith going to Illinois really makes any noise in the Big Ten football landscape?
Who hired Lovie Smith? Anybody?
Oh, I know.
Josh Whitman. His name sound familiar?
Sure.
Athletic director at UWL a couple years ago. That's what I took from it. Illinois, like you said before we started, they don't have Juice Williams walking through the door.
Sean Mendenhall ain't walking through that door.
No. So Illinois has got a big step. I mean, Lovie Smith, I don't know. He hasn't been in the college game for a long time. We'll see.
They needed a credible name to go to the University of Illinois, and they got one in Lovie Smith. And Lovie Smith is a player's coach. You just don't know what type of recruiter he is. Thinking he might be a player's coach might make enough noise to turn him around. They signed him to 6 years for a contract extension, but we'll see. You got to give him 4 years to at least figure it out. Illinois is a mess right now, so who knows what kind of coach Lovie Smith will be in the pros, but we'll see.
With the Big Ten powers, Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, it's tough to turn a program around in just a couple of years, but maybe he's their long-term coach.
I haven't seen their schedule for next year either, but if they have Michigan, Michigan State, or Ohio State, we'll see, I guess.
Well, and that's just the thing. Like, does the name Lovie Smith resonate with a high school kid right now wanting to go to a big-time football program? I personally don't think so. I think good on Illinois for making the move. Good on Illinois for going after, a name in the NFL game, but I just don't see how it moves the needle. All right, we're going to take a quick break from Sports Talk Live. We're going to take a look at those cuddly perfect pets. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Kendra. I'm 2 years old. I love conversation. I'm shy at first, but I'm also very curious and friendly.
I'm Priscilla. I'm a 2-year-old cat. I'm fun, sweet, playful, and I love attention.
Hi, I'm Watermelon. I'm a 2-year-old lab mix, quiet, lovable, well-mannered, and I love nothing more than a good belly rub.
Hi, I'm Rusty. I'm a 6-year-old Pomeranian. I'm a cute little fur ball, and I love attention so much that I'm very content just sitting in your lap. To find out more about adoption for these pets and others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Once again, the number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 781-4014. All right, guys, picking this thing back up. We're starting to get into the home stretch of the NBA season. Golden State has been the story all year long. Outside of a minor hiccup in L.A. this weekend, the city of L.A. and their nightlife remains undefeated. Do you see anyone breaking up Golden State's run to the championship?
Absolutely not. They are on fire. They've been a team that I have not ever seen in my lifetime, besides the Bulls, which I was like 3 or 4 at the time. I will say the team that gives them the best shot would be the Trailblazers, because they like to run the floor. If they can keep up, if Damian Lillard keeps scoring 50 points a game, other than that, I don't see the Spurs beating them. They run a more of a fundamental slow style. Kawhi Leonard can't guard everybody.
That's true.
In a 7-game series, I just don't see it this year. But you said San Antonio, you don't think that their style matches. I think that they might have the potential to slow them down, because once the playoffs come in the NBA, of course, every intensity picks up. They're the only team I could see. The Cavaliers right now, they kind of have dilemma problems. They might not have what it takes to beat Golden State in a 7-game series. Blew them out twice this year. I just don't see it. I'll go with the crowd right now that nobody will beat them in a 7-game series.
Perfect.
Nobody will stop them. Seven games, that's why they play it. Best team is going to win the majority of the time. Cleveland, if Kyrie stays healthy, Kevin Love stays healthy, and we see the LeBron James we saw last year, that'll be a good series to watch.
It's just fun to witness history with that team.
And people like to rag on the Warriors because they're on TV all the time, but just be happy with what you're witnessing. You don't get to see this stuff all the time. We're seeing guys in their prime, and we're seeing a organization that has drafted the right way, that has traded the right way, and that has gone after free agency the right way. You don't see many teams in the NBA anymore have a measured approach to how they build a franchise, and Golden State has done that as perfect as any team possibly can. And they haven't just set themselves up for last year or this year. They're set to go for the next 5 years. So congrats to Golden State. They seem to be well on their way for a NBA championship. Now, to a much lesser team in the NBA, but one that I still love nonetheless. We're going to talk a little bit about the Bucks. They haven't had quite the season that many fans expected, but there's still a lot of room for excitement when you talk about them. Jabari has played a full 82 games in his young career. He's been getting 20 points a game. Giannis is a walking triple-double lately. I guess just talk about the potential of these young guys and what that means for Milwaukee's future.
So I was at the game Friday night. I was able to see the Bucks beat the Timberwolves, and it was a glimpse of the future. Right before the game, Giannis said to Jabari, "Hey, look, when I get a board, you run, and then when I get the board, you run," or vice versa.
I got you.
And it was amazing, and they did exactly that. Giannis might be the only 6'10" guy that can run a point. It's exciting. A walking triple-double almost potentially every night. It's definitely a bright future. And Middleton is a guy that they locked up for 5 or 6 years that can shoot the three, and just it is exciting to watch the Bucks grow up. I mean, the growing pains, it kind of sucks every once in a while, I'm not going to lie, but hey, it's going to be an exciting future.
Murphy?
With the draft, you might see one superstar in a draft. So the Bucks' free agency is going to be big for them. Obviously, Milwaukee's not really an attractive market right now, the way that they've been playing, but landing a big free agent would go a long way.
And also, Jabari did go out and say that he wanted to play with Giannis for the rest of his career. At least he wouldn't mind it. That's a big statement going in, at least in year 1 or 2 of.
Now, Brandon, you're a fan of a team that also has a bright future with a bunch of players with young potential. Whose core would you take right now? Would you take Minnesota's young core, or would you take Milwaukee's young core?
I would actually take Minnesota just because of what Towns is doing. They got Wiggins, who's going to be a superstar.
And his defensive potential is off the charts.
And a kid who can absolutely jump out of the gym, Zach LaVine. It'll be interesting to see like the Bucks and the Timberwolves, and maybe, I doubt it, but the 76ers going forward to see how they progress.
All right. Well, we had a pretty big week in UFC this weekend. We had a couple of title fights that were pretty big-time promoted, and I don't think they quite went the way Dana White expected they would go. We saw $1 million purse for Conor McGregor in a loss, and we also saw Holly Holm suffer her first loss as champion, I guess. Talk about the fight this weekend and maybe the implications of the upset going forward for UFC.
I want to talk about the Holly Holm fight because me, as in a lot of people, watched her kick the face in of Ronda Rousey. And she got beat by Miesha Tate, who was destroyed by Ronda Rousey twice.
Yep.
So how that sets up Rousey for the future of UFC? Will she fight Tate? Will she fight Holm? How far is her career going to last? Like, I think it takes the air out of the Holm-Rousey rematch at the point.
For me, I think this was great for the sport, the UFC 196. A lot of hype for it, but honestly, that McGregor-Diaz fight turned into a brawl, a street fight. Really not a lot of technique going into that fight. Favors Diaz a lot. Conor McGregor, obviously a more technical fighter, drawing the entire fight, but who knows, going forward, maybe we'll see a rematch, maybe we'll see more weight classes just thrown out the window.
So I didn't get a chance to see the fight this weekend, but it's why the spectacle of sports will continue to amaze people, and that's why it'll continue to make money. Upsets are going to happen, and every once in a while you see that, and it's just what is good for the world of sports. I'm always a big fan of the underdog, so happy to see how the underdogs win this weekend.
It's very rare when you get someone, especially in the fighting industry, that can go undefeated. So these things don't last forever. Someone's going to have your number. Someone's going to beat you. And I think just as sports fans and as a society, we take one loss as a end-all, be-all, and that kind of see that as ending something. This is not going to be the end of Holly Holm. This is not going to be the end of Conor McGregor. You can believe me on that. So I think if you're a Holly Holm fan or if you're a Conor McGregor fan, don't let this loss over the weekend beat you up. These guys are going to be big names in the sport for a long time to come, so don't let that bother you at all.
The thing about McGregor, too, is he gained 25 pounds.
Yeah, he had to go up a class, yeah.
And in my opinion, he won the first round. In a lot of people's opinion, he won the first round. He just took a shot the second round and ended up biting him in the butt.
Yep.
So a rematch, very possible. It'd be interesting what you said with the weight classes, because, 25 pounds is a huge difference. It would have been the same fight if he was maybe 10 pounds less. I don't know.
Even like when you wrestle in high school, if you have to get up to class, even like adding 2 pounds right before your match, it does take a toll on your body, and you don't feel the same going in. So I can imagine what 25 pounds does.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we are going to come back with some NCAA preview. Stay tuned.
Introducing WMCM's newest sports show, Hot Shot Sports. It's got games, memes, highlights, gifts, and everything else that you'd ever want from a sports show, like everything current from social media and all other sports action. So tune in to Charter Channel 989 and Campus Channel 6 for some Hot Shot Sports.
Do you need better opinions on the biggest sports stories? Then you need Sports Talk Live. They cover all sports all the time. From track and field, to soccer, to football, gymnastics, and just about everything in between. Sports Talk Live is your place for sports. Sports Talk Live, Tuesdays on WMCM-TV.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Live on WMCM-TV. We are now going to shift back to the NCAA tournament, or as I like to refer to it, America's favorite pastime, the exploitation of amateur athletes for billions of dollars. But seriously, we are going to talk a little bit and have you guys set up some of the conference tournaments this weekend. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and give us some insight on the Big 12 conference tournament?
So, other than the Big 10, the Big 12 is the conference I like to follow the most. You got players like Buddy Hield, probably going to win Player of the Year. He's like the college version of Steph Curry, even though it's not fair to compare the two. So look for Oklahoma and Kansas to be the favorites. However, Big 12 tournaments at a neutral site. Kansas don't get to play at Rock Chalk. So we also have teams like Texas and West Virginia that were ranked previously in the year. Don't forget about Texas Tech. Very stingy team.
Yep.
Got Tubby Smith, who's a proven coach. Went to Kentucky, turned Minnesota's program around. Well, it's hard to turn around a hockey town.
Potential National Coach of the Year,
So,
Tubby Smith.
Texas Tech is the dark horse in the Big 12. It'd be interesting to see if they could get some signature wins to up their stock for the tournament.
Yep.
But you can't really bet against Kansas.
They have the pedigree, they have the coach. They've
been there, done that.
All right, Joy, why don't you set us up with the ACC conference?
So tomorrow afternoon, Syracuse and Pittsburgh is going to go a long way. Teams that have been in the Big East before know what it's all about to be in those tough conference tournaments. That should be a fun game tomorrow. And then also a potential Duke-North Carolina rematch for Friday in the ACC semifinal, I think. North Carolina, they're the #1 seed. I'm going to go with chalk in the ACC. I hate to do it, but I'm not a big fan of Virginia. They have a great defense. Of course, Tony Bennett is a good coach, but they just don't score enough to make me believe that they can go a long way. And North Carolina, they have a lot of seniors this year, and they have them playing well. And two, when Duke beat them on their home floor, they beat them for 38 minutes, and then Duke just came back in the last two. So I'm going to go with chalk. I'm going to pick North Carolina.
All right, Murphy, why don't you set us up with some talk about the Big East?
Sure, the Big East, one of the most loaded conferences in college basketball in terms of individual players as well as teams. 5 or 6 teams that could easily win the Big East tournament. But I'm going to go with the 1 seed Villanova. All year they've proven themselves to be the best team in the Big East. They're a difference maker for me. Daniel Ochefu, 10 points, 8 rebounds for them. They're big man. Obviously, Ryan Arcidiacono is their shooter. He's what they're known for. Mm-hmm. But the big men are what run college basketball. Against them, Xavier, they beat them late in the season here, but I just see Villanova as the champions.
Now, we didn't talk about the ACC and we didn't talk about the Pac-12. That's because, personally, I'm tired of talking about Duke and North Carolina, and it's too late to watch Pac-12
I just talked
games.
about the ACC.
SEC. I mean,
Ben Simmons.
LSU.
Yeah. It's been a long day for yours truly, folks. All right, let's talk about some mid-majors having the potential to make some noise. Every single year, there always seems to be one, my friends, that tends to make a little bit of noise in the tournament. Who do you expect to maybe break some hearts come the NCAA tournament?
I was on the Valpo bandwagon until they lost last night. The other teams I was looking at, BYU, who also lost last night to Gonzaga by 4. However, Northern Iowa always seems to find a way to win. They upset Kansas a couple years ago. I would look towards them. Other than that, I'm not very confident in mid-majors this year.
One of my favorite NCAA tournament moments, Farouk Monash upsetting Kansas, Northern Iowa. That was fun. I'm going to go with Dayton. They've been there before. They have the coach, and one of the funnest names in college basketball to say Scoochie Smith with the 1-2 punch of Charles Cook. That's going to be my seed. They'll probably end up as a 6 or 7. The Atlantic 10 isn't per se a mid-major team, but right now that selection committee has a tough job because what are you going to do with Wichita State? Are they in or out? What are you going to do with Valpo? Are they in or out? And what are you going to do with Monmouth? Are they in or out? And teams like St. Bonaventure and St. Joe's, if they don't win a game in the Atlantic 10 tournament, you never know. Gonzaga has another chance to steal a seed. They'll probably end up as a 12 if they get in. And then also, watch out for UW Green Bay. I'm serious here. They can run up and down the floor the whole time. Wright State right now is a 16 if they win. I don't know where Green Bay would be, probably a 16. But their style of offense and what they did against Wisconsin earlier on in the year, I don't know. I hope I'm not sounding like a homer there. But
Murphy?
For me, Joe, you mentioned it, St. Joe's. Out of the A10 Player of the Year, DeAndre Bembre. He's the difference maker there. 17 points, 8 rebounds for St. Joe's. The A10 will get 3 teams in. Obviously, Virginia Commonwealth. Historically, they've done well in the tournament. A10 is right at that second tier of college basketball.
I agree. All right, boys. Time we've all been waiting for. Since we don't have classes next week, we won't be having a show next week. Now's as good a time as any to talk about who we have in our potential Final Four bracket. So, guys, tell me who is in your Final Four.
I would have Michigan State there for sure. I think this is the year that they can potentially win it finally, with their 16-year drought.
Yeah.
I want to put Kansas in there, but it's still a big question mark. And then look for a Big East team. I don't know if it will be Xavier. I don't know if it will be Villanova. But I really like Seton Hall as a dark horse, make a run for Cinderella. And then maybe possibly Oklahoma. But you cannot bet against North Carolina Duke since they always make a run.
So I'm going to go with Kansas. They haven't been there in a while. I think it's time that they go back. The Final Four's in Houston. They'll be there. And also a Elite Eight matchup I foresee is Purdue-Oklahoma. Purdue has 2 matchup problems that we saw that Badgers have struggles with on Sunday night. Matt Painter's a great coach, and they haven't done anything in the tournament in a while. Look out for them. That's going to be my dark horse. Michigan State will be there, right there as well. And also North Carolina and Kentucky, the way it is right now, will be in the same region because they'll probably be 1 through 4. You can't bet against those two. Kentucky's playing well at this time of year, and North Carolina's there. So my dark horse would be Purdue, but of course, who knows?
It's fun to talk about, though.
Sure.
Murphy?
All right, so at WMCM, we don't do a lot of math, but I'll give you guys a math problem real
That's
quick.
true.
Marcus Page plus Bryce Johnson plus Roy Williams equals title. That's all I got. I got Indiana, Michigan State, Oklahoma in the Final Four as well, but North Carolina, they take the crown.
My thing with North Carolina is they always have guys like that, though. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like every single year they run into some team, whether it's a mid-major or something like that, and they always seem to run into trouble and they can just never seem to make it. But it's going to be interesting to see. But right now, we are going to shift into our FaceTime. We let our analysts get it off their chest where they can talk about whatever subject they want to. So why don't we go ahead and we start with Brandon. Let us know what you're thinking about, bud.
Well, I think about hockey a lot, but today I'm going to talk about something you might not expect. Sam Decker of the Wisconsin Badgers was razzed on Twitter for leaving Wisconsin a year early. I believe the lady said something about we pay taxes for your free ride and you leave us early. He came back with something like, I worked my butt off to get where I am as the 18th pick. I had my injuries, I still have to prove myself, and I pay 40% income tax. So props to you, Sam Decker. I don't usually support you, but way to stand up for yourself. Do what makes you right and your family right.
Joey.
I'll plus one of that for you. You know, you never know. But did you hear about the Green Bay announcer who got kicked out of the Horizon League semifinal game last night? It was Wisconsin sports personality Matt Menzel, who I know is a true professional. Matt said there was a 50-50 call, who he thought the call was going to be on Valpo, ended up being on Green Bay. Apparently the ref said he made a gesture towards him. And then during the timeout, the official went up to Matt Menzel and kicked him out and wasn't going to start the game until Matt Menzel left his spot. And then cooler heads prevailed. He came back, and then through the various sports talk shows that I heard him on today, just said it was a bizarre situation. And I know Matt's a true professional, and just a funny story as well. And Green Bay has a chance to get in the tournament for the first time in 20 years tonight. So good luck to the Phoenix.
Murphy, take us home.
Okay, last 17 years, only 10 different schools have won a championship in college basketball. That's going to stay the same. One of the big names will win the tournament this year. Whether that's North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, we're going to see one of the big names. Cinderella slippers, they'll get broken early, but one of the big names will prevail.
All right, guys. Well, that just about does it here for us on Sports Talk Live. I want to wish you guys a happy spring break. Be safe. Don't do anything ridiculous. Enjoy the conference tournaments. Enjoy the time off of classes. Just enjoy it all. Enjoy the experience. You're only in college so long.
Happy everything forever, as Bill Walton would say.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you guys for watching Sports Talk Live on WMCM. We will be back next time. Thank you very much.
WMCM, the college television of champions.